Hi, my name is Marcia Stromgren, and you've tuned in to Just the Facts. I have a guest in my studio today who is running for House Representative in the state of Minnesota. Welcome, Natalie. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Natalie Zeleznikar.
Yes, you said it right.
Thank you. That's quite a name.
It is. It is.
So, Natalie, why do you want to represent Minnesota?
You know, I've been serving Minnesota, northeastern Minnesota, since I came here in 1991 as a nursing home administrator. And for the last 30 years, I've been serving seniors and families and employees in 24-hour operations. And I've really seen this implosion happen. And it started before COVID, and it's been gradually getting worse to a point where we are not prepared to take care of our aging seniors. And we will face closures with nursing homes and assisted living in the communities in our backyard.
And why is that? What is at the bottom of this problem?
We don't have staff. You know, if you don't have caregivers, you can't give care.
Right.
There is no robot from UMD that's going to deliver care. So the bottom line is pathways for healthcare has to start younger. I was in health occupation classes in high school and led me to be a CNA. And, you know, we had less hour requirements then. And then nurses were being aides before they were nurses. And those rules changed. So people weren't aides if they were going into healthcare professions. They waived a lot of that to get people into their profession faster, which I think we lost a lot of that foundation that's been critical. And I think we also lost the piece of when you've done the work of an aide, you understand the care, because you can be a better leader when you're a nurse and when you're a supervisor and when you're a doctor, when you understand the roles everybody plays.
Well, it's almost like on-the-job training.
It is.
It's like
it is.
Going to high school and having some kind of preliminary training before you decide you want to get into that field.
Correct.
And
Correct.
That is not happening.
Correct. And now, you know, when I had breast cancer and I ended up in the emergency room and at different times in my eight surgeries I had a physician that was taking care of me that said, "I'm so glad I was an aide for you. I learned so much." And I thought that just said it all. You know, you learn what everybody's doing. You learn the heart and soul of caregiving is at the bedside. And aides are the number one role for bedside care. And without the aides and creating that atmosphere of partnerships in the medical field, we lose a lot.
Are they not teaching that in, like, say, for instance, Lake Superior College?
They are teaching it, but they don't have people signing up. So it is expensive, and nursing homes reimburse it. But I think a lot of people don't want to take the class, and then they have to give up their job, you know, their wages from their job to take the class. There isn't an opportunity. So we have to find some different ways to do things to get people into the field, and then to get them comfortable caring for seniors. Many people didn't grow up like I did, where, you know, I was around my grandparents every day on the farm, and so I was around an aging community from the time I was young. And so being around seniors, caring for them, lifting them into wheelchairs and helping them and assist them with cares was commonplace for myself, my mother, and many other people growing up. And as people have taken jobs all over the country, that ability to be with people aging in their own family may look different today. And if we don't create opportunities for them to see people in nursing homes, where education is partnering with nursing homes at young ages, they don't create a level of comfort together where they would think that that's a job they would want to do.
It's interesting that it has taken that kind of a turn.
It has. It's much different, and we're a very mobile society. So, you know, I don't blame kids for picking the jobs with technology and the opportunities. People can work from home. There's a million opportunities for people, but there won't be a replacement for a human being. And what you get from being a caregiver is so rewarding and so fulfilling, and you make a difference every day when you leave. But we have to have enough people on a shift so that people can give quality care.
Is there any other facets of healthcare that you'd like to address?
Yeah, I'm concerned with the hospitals for sure. I've been a patient. I wasn't planning on getting breast cancer. Nobody does. 1 in 8 women get breast cancer, and then I almost died from sepsis from a complication. And so, when you need the hospital, you need the hospital. When you need the emergency room, when you have a car accident, things happen. I'm concerned that we don't have enough staff there. When nurses don't want to be nurses and medical doctors are stressed and speech pathologists and surgical techs and respiratory therapists are working numerous hours, that the system is broke, and we have to look at what's happened and try to have some honest conversations on how we can fix this, because we need these core services in our community, without a doubt.
Well, now, we've already started out on one of your subjects, but I'm going to back up just a little bit.
Okay.
Natalie is running for a very large area. Because of redistricting, her territory is quite vast, and I'd like her to explain that to you so that you understand, if you're in that area, that you can plan on November 9th, seeing her
November
name
8th.
on the ballot.
November 8th.
Oh, sorry, November 8th.
That's okay. You can have a senior moment too.
To see your name on the ballot.
Yeah.
So, okay, would you describe the district that you're
Sure.
wanting to represent?
I want to represent the people in House District 3B, which goes all the way to the city of Two Harbors. It goes all the way up to Brimson, Hugos, Pequam Lakes area, Alt, Normanna Township. It goes all the way to the south side of Hoyt Lakes, Whiteface unorganized district in that area. It comes down to Whiteface Lake. It comes down into Schultz Lake area, to Boulder Lake, Island Lake, Fish Lake, Pike Lake, Grand Lake. It has Grand Lake Township, Kenosha Township, Solway Township, Midway Township. It has Rice Lake, the city of Rice Lake. It has Lakewood Township. It has, now it has Gary, New Duluth, and it has Fond du Lac area. That is a whole new area, so they will have never voted for, myself, or I'm, first time running, or the incumbent that's been there for 46 years. They will have never been in our district of 3B. So that's a new area. So we have Proctor, the city of Proctor, the city of Hermantown, and Two Harbors, all of places which I've either built a business or started a nursing home, ran a nursing home or started assisted living, and then all the townships surrounding it, Alt Township, Northwood Township, Pequam, all of them. Big area.
Very, yes.
Very big area.
Okay, some of the other things you want to talk about. Childcare.
I've been a working mom my entire career, and if I wouldn't have had this wonderful woman named JoJo that came and lived with me for a couple days at probably 74, I don't know what I would have done. If I wouldn't have had Acres of Fun, a child care center that was in the rural community on the way that Two Harbors, I don't know what I would have done. If I wouldn't have had Benedictine Care Center when they were in preschool, I don't know what I would have done. Many of these no longer exist. Child care providers the number of providers has went down, and when I talk to families when I'm door knocking, it's 12, 16, 18 months for an infant opening. And so if families can't find child care, it is not possible to take an offer for a job. And so it goes hand in hand, having quality child care with business growth in a community. And so I'm very concerned for parents that they have good quality choices. That was the number one thing for me, to be able to focus on caring for seniors and do it well and be a leader. I needed to know that our sons were safe, that they were thriving, that they were doing well, and I was blessed with that, and I want that to be available for families today.
What do you see as the problem when we don't have those child care centers? Are they overregulated?
I would say yes. I've read the regulations. I've looked at them. They are as regulated as nursing homes and assisted livings. Overregulated is an understatement. And when I talk to people that no longer do child care or are doing child care, they say the regulations have gotten to be to a point of extreme. We're no longer able to do the care that we once did, and the paperwork that we have to do, and the home modifications and the expectations if you're a home daycare is just cost prohibitive and absolutely not feasible for families trying to have their family life and also be a home daycare provider. And I think it's hurting the community because we have to let these child care providers have the training they need, but not to an excessive amount, which it is right now, and the regulations are where they're not motivated to stay in the business, and they've left the business. The statistics show they've left. And so I think the overregulation, the intent is we're going to prevent the worst case scenario, but we're also preventing people from having access to care. And so I think what we've accomplished is horrific for the communities right now because we have an implosion of childcare happening for families.
Is that also the case with adult care? Is there
Yes.
overregulation there
Yes.
as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, we were regulated to a point of if the toast wasn't the right temperature. My toast probably never was the right temperature at home either when I served it because it gets cold pretty fast. And so when you're taking food from a plate, and that's a small example, but, when you look at what are the meat and potato issues that I would say from a farm life, we get lost in the weeds, and the regulations are written that way. And there is no flexibility. It's not an either or any air for judgment. And the regulations were not written for a COVID world. So, facilities and nursing homes and assisted living are getting fined for things that they don't have any ability to fix because they are living in a world that these regulations have expectations that the gap is this far apart from reality. And it's the same situation in childcare. And so we aren't going to be able to catch up to get the community back on track to have care if we don't address this. And I'm a proponent we want quality childcare, but we have to let people be caregivers. We have to let childcare providers give the care. They know how to do it. We need to ask them. They have the answers. I've asked many of them, and they're very stressed right now and considering, not doing it anymore. So that is a tragedy for Minnesota when we have so many people not wanting to work in healthcare or childcare.
Well, you reminded me of something that happened when my mother-in-law was in a small facility in Kenosha. She's since passed on. But she was the only one that was paying cash because my father-in-law had done well, and then he had set up a nice trust for her.
Yep.
And so we paid the cash every month. One of the problems was Medicare did not pay on time. So what did they have to run their facility? My mother-in-law's monthly check.
Right.
So that was a problem back then, and that's been several years now. And the other thing is, you talk about overregulation. My mother-in-law was on food supplements before she came. Mm-hmm. I believe in those myself. And so they went with her. But the facility owner had to take them out of the cupboard because they went through every cupboard and looked at every single thing. And if those didn't come with a prescription, which they didn't need to, we had to get rid of them. So I said, well, you just have to hide them. Because
and
my mother-in-law needed them. And, she lived to almost 98 years old. But
right.
That's something you reminded me of, overregulation.
And that's happened. Natural medicine has become more important and at the top of mind of people, and integrating that into how we live and how we care for people, I think is important, and having some common sense. And the regulations don't always allow for common sense. When I started, we restrained every resident that couldn't stand and walk by themselves. So if they were in a wheelchair, they were restrained. If they were in bed, they had a vest posy on and you tied them down. And that was nurses and doctors teaching us that was best practice. It was my job to prevent them from falling and having a negative outcome. So we didn't have hip fractures. We didn't have very isolated injuries. And then fast forward, the families, we wanted to have a quality of life. You used to hear people yelling, help me, all the time. They wanted it taken off. They wanted the restraint off, and we did it. And we went restraint-free. And we didn't cure dementia. We didn't cure congestive heart failure. We didn't cure osteoporosis. We now have people falling. Sometimes the bone breaks first, the fall second. It's the chicken or the egg thing. But at the end of the day, we can't sit there one-on-one and watch you. There's no staff for that. So people are falling, and sometimes there is a fracture. And, you know, even if you write a care plan, you're going to check on them every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes. Facilities are strapped right now. The reality is, do you have time to go do all the things that it says you're supposed to do? And if it says it and you don't do it, you're in violation. There's not a perfect world right now. And so having all these things happen, because you might want to get up at a certain time and have to use the restroom, and everybody's eating, and then everybody wants to, you know, lay down and needs to use the restroom, and you have to pick who's going first and who's going last, and make sure you get that quality done. So I think people, you know, forget that we're not going to change the disease. We have to be okay with some risk and some benefit. You know, there is going to be some falls. There's going to be some injuries because we're not medicating people. We're not restraining them. And so the disease is going to run its course of some natural decline. But the laws are really written in a way where there's not supposed to be decline. and that's just not reality. There is decline. I want it to be in a humane, gracious way. But dying and aging isn't always a beautiful, gracious. It's beautiful in its own way. I've come to just accept that the body declining has a toll it takes, you know, an emotional, physical, mental, everything toll. But the process of it will happen for all of us. And what do we want that to look like? So it's complicated, but I think we have a lot of work to do and we can find solutions. We just have to involve the healthcare workers, the leadership teams at the table to make decisions for the best interests of Minnesota.
Well, we're going to stop here for a moment, Natalie, because I'd like people to know how they could get in touch with you. Do you have a website, Facebook page, or any other type of social media? Would you like to share that information?
I would love to share that information, yeah. I am available at, it's Natalie for House, NATALIEFORHOUSE.com. It's also Natalie for House on Facebook. It's Natalie for House on Instagram. And you can follow me on Twitter, Fighting for Minnesota, fighting with the number 4, Minnesota, and you can find me there too. So love to have you interact, try to share updates, my website, and the various forms of social media, trying to reach people.
Okay. Public safety.
I think public safety is a huge issue. You know, we live in northern Minnesota. We're safe, right? So, you know, we have, in the area I live and in the communities I represent, I would say that for the most part, we're lucky. But I tell people that crime and public safety is like cancer. It will creep unless you deal with prosecuting criminals and you have the laws that we have in place are followed, where we're not giving bail to people that are repeat offenders and have a rap sheet a mile long and wait till they do something horrific and murder you. That's too late. So then we're just reacting. So we're seeing car thefts. We're seeing, you know, it's the first time in my life that I know someone who's had their car stolen when they went to visit their son in the cities. I know someone who's beat up in the parking lot of a grocery store in the afternoon. I never knew that. And I live up here. So we have family in the cities. We have friends in the cities. I want to go see sporting events in the cities, a concert, a play, go to a restaurant, go to a sporting event or what have you, and feel safe. I don't want to worry that I'm going to be bugged, beat, killed, or raped, or, you know, have my purse stolen or my car stolen. And just like people in the cities want to come up here to play, to four-wheel, hunt, fish, go to the Boundary Waters, go up the North Shore hiking and use our backyard, I want to use their backyard in the cities and feel as safe as we want people to feel when they come up here. So I feel that crime is universal. If I get to the House of Representatives, I'm looking at making sure we have safe communities statewide, because it has to be that way for kids, for adults, for us to have prosperity in any community. We need to know we're safe.
Have you got some suggestions?
I have a lot of suggestions. I think that we need to bring police respect back. You know, there are bad apples everywhere, but you cannot throw everybody into the same pot. I don't care if it's a doctor, a nurse, a pastor, a priest, a teacher, a police officer. The list goes on and on. We have to honor the professions that are honoring us. You know, when you call 911, you're going to want somebody to show up. And we have to bring the respect back to the profession and a lot of professions, and we have to teach people to be civil. You know, civil discourse just can't be, you know, we can have civil discourse and be respectful, but being criminal is quite different. So I was taught that you know, have respect, civil responsibility, and I would expect that we encourage that in schools, in the community. You know, law enforcement is responding to usually not the prettiest items of society. You know, somebody's being beat, you know, there's something going on. Something's happening that's making a 911 call. And so we need to make sure that we give them the best resources for training, the best equipment that they need to be safe. So when that their safety is paramount too, and that we make sure that when we have crime, we prosecute crime. If you kill my child, you're staying in jail the rest of your life, period. You know, you rape my daughter, you're gonna stay in jail. You know, it isn't that hard, you know, and I think that we have to get back to that. And when you start prosecuting, holding people accountable for their actions, it sends a message to society. We've sent a message that it's a catch and release, and that's not okay with me.
Well, and it starts at home.
Absolutely.
I do remember that if I got in trouble at school, a note went home with me to my parents, and you know, maybe I had to sit in the principal's office, and then when I got home, I got punished again. Mm-hmm. So do you think the major problem is lack of parenting at home, or lack of responsibility on the part of the teachers, principals, the school district at large to hold the kids accountable for their actions? I've heard many, since I filmed the school district for over 10, 11 years, I heard many things come from the mouths of parents about the treatment of their children in classrooms. And so it's like a free-for-all compared to when I went to school. I mean, one of our teachers I remember in particular, she'd stand with a can on the stairway, and if she saw you coming chewing gum, she just held out the can and you knew you had to spit it in that can.
Right.
Nowadays, it's like everything goes.
Well,
and so
and I
have you seen or heard things to that nature?
I would say yes. I've heard when I'm door knocking, I hear a lot of families concerned about bullying. And so I think it's where's the root cause of it? I think it's probably multiple layers. And certainly everything starts at home, and then our kids just aren't in our house. We share them with the world, you know, so then we try to put them in safe settings, which is the school and the learning model. And so, you know, it's kind of like, be careful what you see. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What's appropriate for children? Children are children. So, you know, we have PG ratings on TV and for television shows. What does that mean? Parental guidance. So parental guidance really is a responsibility that has to be taken to heart of everything. You know, what are we doing with curriculum? What are we doing at how we speak? What is appropriate for that mind and that age of a child? What you enter into your mind at 18 to process should look much different than what we're expecting of a 4-year-old child, I would hope. And so developmentally, there's a time and place for all of it. With social media and you know, this little deal here, and access and iPads and computers, you know, the world at any level that you want to know it is available at all ages. And if you just go to a restaurant, you'll see a 2-year-old on this. Mm-hmm. So, you know,
I have.
You probably have. And so when I talk to seniors, they're like, just go and look at a restaurant, and the only ones you'll see visiting with each other are people that are 85 and older, that know how to have a conversation. And so my challenge for myself even, and I have to tell myself that because everything I'm doing is on this thing too, is making sure I take time to call people, to visit with people in person, not through gaming, not through a computer, not through texting, not through Snapchat, not through Instagram, not through Facebook, not through Twitter, not through an email. But how much time are we spending knowing people? You know, I can't know you if I don't see your eyes and I don't see your smile. And I can't know you to know your heart and know anything about you if we miss that. So I think we're doing a disservice to our kids and to our children when we don't see the face. So we have to see each other.
Well, within 3 minutes, we get to cover economy.
All right. Economy is the whole staple of what we do in the community. You know, I grew up with a dad that was a middle school principal, superintendent, and my mom was a bus driver. So I grew up understanding in a farm community how important it is to have a community of support. You need to have businesses. Without businesses, you don't have anybody to share the tax base. It all falls on us as individuals. And when you have business, you have strong schools. You have police, you have fire, you have the support systems, you have better roads, you have an infrastructure. So we need to have great jobs up here. We have to grow private business and as much and more than what we've done. We have to make mining happen. We've got to support northeastern Minnesota and make sure we get the staples here so that we can provide for ourselves and our families. We can't just grow government jobs. That's never the solution.
No, I think we just covered how it's not the solution by some more regulations.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to have you give your social media addresses so they can come to you again. And responsibility of the people watching this, the viewers. November 8th is a voting day.
It is a voting day. And we need everybody to vote. If you are eligible to vote and you live here in District 3B, I am running as somebody who's never ran before. I'm running against somebody who's been in office for 46 years. I think that's a lifetime of service that belongs in volunteering. We don't want career politicians, regardless of party, Republican, Independent, Democrat. I think 46 years is a career. And I built my career. I want to serve the people. And so they can find me on natalieforhouse.com. You can find me on Natalie for House on Instagram. And you can find me on also on Twitter, Fighting for Minnesota, and I'm on Natalie for House. So look on my Facebook page and follow me. And make sure you vote and know where to vote. Where is your precinct? Find out. You can Google that and find out where you vote. And if you're voting early, are you registered? Make sure you're a registered voter. People don't understand the rules, so I tell people, get informed.
Well, thank you, Natalie, for coming in today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
I wish you the best on November 8th. And again, I'll say to the viewers, you have a responsibility to keep your freedoms. If you sit home and don't vote, you get exactly what you deserve. That's just the way I look at it. Mm-hmm. I always vote, and I think that some of you who have been sitting back need to realize it is your responsibility. We live in a free country. Thanks.
Thank you.